Welcome back. Brendan here with Privateer Press. In our last video, we dropped the temperature with frost and ice effects. Today we're going to get magical and learn how to add glow and arcane effects to our miniatures. Let's get started. I'll be using a fine hobby brush alongside with a fine studio brush, as well as a work studio brush to put my paint into my well palette. The paints I'll be using today are Meridius Blue, Arcane Blue, and Menoth White Highlight. I'll start by shaking up my Meridius Blue, and then using my work studio brush to get some in my paint palette. So I want to make sure not to get any paint in my furrow because that will cause damage to the brush. And now I'll start applying my base coat. So here I'm just trying to apply the base coat. And since this is the first color I'm putting on, I'm not too worried about being messy. A solid foundation of Meridius Blue is very important before we move on to the next step. I'm going to brace my finger against the model so I can maintain accuracy and control for where the tip of my brush will go. And now I'm going to apply another layer because it's very important that none of the black primer is showing through. So this should be the last coat I need. And I'll apply as many coats as necessary to make sure that I'm ready to move on to the next layer. I'm also going to go ahead and just paint this eye of the gun in. I'm just kind of dabbing the paint in. Alright, so once this is dry and I've cleaned up, I'm going to move on to the next step. Next, I'm going to put some Arcane Blue into my palette. Make sure it's properly watered down so I have proper control. So to do this effect, I'm just going to try to build up the glow in as few colors as possible. I'm going to go ahead and line these coils just using the edge of my brush. This allows for a quick and fast glow effect. I'm going to do the same to the other side, as well as do a small dot on the inside of the gun barrel. And I'm going to use my finger to clean up a mistake. I'm also going to add some arcane glow into the inside of the coil. There we go. And for the final step, we're going to want to add some Menoth White Highlight. I'm not going to add any to my well palette. I'm just going to use it straight from the pot. I'm still going to make sure it's wet. I just want a little bit because I'm just going to use it for center hot points on my model. You can see I'm just using the edge of my brush to just tap it on to get the color out, which is a nice little thing you can do with these coils. And then I also need to get the center glow there. All right. So with just 3 simple colors, we can easily bring together a quick tabletop glow. It's quite effective. And once the rest of the model's painted, it's really going to change the look of these colors to really benefit how Signar's glow appears. And with one method down for learning how to paint glow, we're ready to move on to the next one. So for the Necrotite glow, I'll be using Menoth White Highlight, yellow ink, and green ink. This time we're going to get a little more complicated. I'll be adding Menoth White Highlight to my well palette, and I'll be watering it down to create a wash. I'll do so by collecting some Menoth White Highlight and then watering it down a good amount. I'm going to use this wash to apply it to the areas that I want the glow to be. The wash is going to help get it in the recesses, which is where the glows are for this. See how it's just kind of capillary action to just pull into everything. I can even use my finger in this process if I want to clean up the edges as I go, or I can do it later. All right, I'm happy with this. I'm gonna skip ahead and paint a few more areas for the glow. And now that I've got a few more areas painted up, I'm gonna return to my palette over here, and I'm gonna start mixing up the Necrotite green glow with inks. I have this out because this is the color I'm trying to get to with the ink mix, and I'm using it for reference. So I'm gonna start with a green, and I just want a little bit here. It's very easy to just get your color, mainly with the yellow ink, and just a tiny bit of green. And now I want to use the yellow ink to bring out that Necrotite glow. There's no real set formula for this, so you just got to mix it till you're happy with the color. I think I want to go with a little bit more yellow ink in there. There we go. So inks on their own make really good glazes. You just want to get a little bit on your brush, and I just want to apply it to the areas I've already done. I want to make sure it doesn't pool because I want to use that coating underneath of Menoth White highlight to really brighten up the area. Since this is a glaze, you can use as many layers as you like. And going lighter is generally always better. So unlike the wash from earlier with the Menoth White highlight, I don't really want this to pool. So instead of just painting the area green, I'm using the color of the ink to really brighten up the layer underneath and slowly tint it to this nasty, bright necrotic color. So since the ink layer is so thin, and it really pops out the Menoth White highlight, you can see that it barely does too much to the black. This allows you to really radiate your glow out from the source if you've already painted your other colors. So slowly start to transition the color from the Menoth White to the green necrotic glow. This is different from a wash because a wash will just pool in the recesses, while with the glaze I get to change the color where I want it to be changed at. It might take a few layers, but that's okay. We're patient. All right, that's nice and green and sickly for me. I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward and get the other areas done. And with that stage complete, we're gonna go back to the Menoth White highlight to add the hot spots. So I'm just gonna use my mix from earlier, twist to a fine point to make sure I have control and accuracy. So when I'm applying the hot points, I'm trying to think about where I think the glow is originating from. So in here, I want the glow to come from the center of his chest cavity, which will direct me to make sure that the brightest points are going to be towards the center of his chest. Wipe that off a little bit. I'll do the same on the other side as well. I want to make sure they're pretty even as far as how far the light is. I'm going to go ahead and do the glow down here as well. So for this, I also want it to look like it's coming from inside the center of his chest. So that's going to kind of give me the idea that the brightest points are going to be up in here, closest to his chest. Do the same on the other side as well. And then for these smaller areas down here, I kind of want them to be up at the top, which is going to keep the glows consistent towards the top of every source. And I'm going to go ahead and keep painting the rest of the glows. All right, with my hot points blocked in, I'm going to do one more glaze, and this time I'm going to go with straight yellow ink. This is going to complement that necrotic ink we mixed earlier quite nicely and really give it a sickly look. Now I want to put it on the previous Menoth White highlight layer, but also let it go a little bit into the green necrotic ink we mixed from 2 stages ago, just to help blend it and give it a little bit more of a cohesive look. Now that this side is dry, I'm going to go back with a little bit more yellow ink to really pop it out some. And do as many layers as you need until it's looking how you like it to look. You just want to make sure you're not letting it pool too much, because this isn't supposed to be a wash. And glaze is just supposed to tint a layer, so you want to make sure we're doing that. All right, we got a really nice glow going on, and I can't wait to finish them up so I can get them on the tabletop. Our models look like they're overflowing with arcane power. In our next video, we're going to go over a very important effect in the Iron Kingdoms: fire. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more videos. And check out the links below for more in this series and additional information on the P3 hobby line. Me want food! Food and model to paint.